Hello friends, and welcome to Basic Building Blocks of System Design. Here we will try to understand the concepts that would help you guys to make a good software system. The topic that we have today is debounce versus throttle, and we would try to understand what a debounce is and what a throttle is. So let's dive in. So, what is a debounce? Well, debounce is a way in which you stop a function from being called if it was called recently. So, say there is a function and it is being called, and say we have put a debounce in front of that function. What it does is, if whenever the request hits the debounce say has a timer for 1 second. So what the debounce will do is it will wait for 1 second and see if there are no further function calls, and then when the 1 second timer runs out, it lets the request pass through. See, this request has debounce, the timer runs for 1 second, and only after it runs out is the request led forward. Now what happens if there is another request within this 1 second? Let's check that out. So the second request, see, it resets the timer again, and now only the second request is allowed to pass. So what happens is debounce always wants to let this timer hit 0 before sending a request through. And if while this timer is running out, another request hits the debounce, it will reset the timer, it will ignore the first request and wait for the timer to hit 0 again. So let's say I pass in 3 requests now. Okay, these 3 requests hit the debounce, and see, only the last one is allowed to pass. This is what a debounce is. And you might be thinking as to why we would need this. Well, let's say we have a search box where we want to type queries in. Like, I want to type in, where is my lunch? Well, how do you think this would work? Well, let's back up a bit. The first time I typed the letter W, I must have triggered an event, and this event might have sent a request to the API requesting some results based on this search query. Well, searching something based on the letter W isn't very useful. So, the results would have been not very useful at all. Then I typed in H, the same thing happened. And then I typed ERE, I kept on typing till I finished typing all of the letters. So only after I typed in the full phrase am I going to get some useful results. So what if instead of firing a request every single time, we only fired it at the end of the full phrase? Well, that's exactly what debounce does, doesn't it? Say I was typing, where is my lunch? Well, you see, it took in all the words and then only fired one request with the whole phrase. Okay, so that was debounce, and now let's talk about throttle. What is a throttle? Well, friends, throttle is again a way to control the number of times a function is called, but it does it a little differently. As the name suggests, the throttle will try to limit the maximum number of times a function is called in a given period of time. So over here again, the given period of time is 1 second. So if I fire a few requests straight at the throttle, you see this throttle is only allowing 2 requests in every 1 second. Also, the first 2 requests in every 1 second are the ones that are allowed to pass, unlike in the debounce where the last request is let through. So again, where would you use this throttle? A throttle can be used in a place like a Windows resize event that you want to bind to, or say a mouse drag event where there is an object on the UI and you want to do something based on when the user drags the object. So if you're going to bind to events such as mouse drag or Windows resize, your system would receive a lot of events in a very short span of time. and you probably don't want to call your functions that often. So what do? Well, again, throttle, right? You need to throttle those requests. You need to set a maximum number of requests that will hit your JavaScript or hit your server in a given span of time. So if you put a throttle in front of a mouse drag event, say, so the mouse drag event, it fires a lot of requests, but still your systems are only going to receive n number of requests in a given span of time. So guys, that is throttle and debounce for you. Hope you understood what a throttle is now and what a debounce is, and I hope that this has been useful. Thanks a lot for staying through the video. So before you guys leave, let's put both the debounce and throttle side by side and see how they look. I am going to fire a few requests to the debounce and the throttle and see how they vary. Debounce allows one request once in a while, but throttle always lets two requests to pass in 1 second. And mind you, I've configured these things to be two requests per second and the debounce timer to be 1 per second. So I guess you enjoyed this. Goodbye, guys.